Hello, welcome. This is NIMASA this week. I missed you. How many days? But we're back.
Yeah, we are right back. We are the authority shining a light through the Fresnel lens of a lighthouse on the maritime shores of Nigeria. Welcome to NIMASA this week.
That's my problem. English too much. Through the Fresnel, Kini.
The Fresnel lens is actually the lens on the lighthouse. You know, we have to, deal with maritime terminology, maritime registers. You know what I'm saying?
High five, high five. That was good. That was good.
Thank you
My
very
name
much.
is Cordelia Obe. I speak the simpler English.
Welcome. Now, on this program, we're going to do a lot of things. We're going to make sure that you know what is happening in terms of the policies of NIMASA. But before we go into the program proper, Cordelia, let's talk about ship scrapping.
Why do we want to talk about ship scrapping?
Yeah, because that is the focus for our intro. Ship scrapping. When the ship is old, it needs to be scrapped. That's in layman terms.
Yeah.
But in professional terms,
ship scrapping is actually the process of demolishing or breaking down a ship after it has lived 26 to 30 years, which is like the lifespan of modern vessels. So it's a point where you now break it down. By breaking it down, you get spare parts, raw materials, and so on. They still could be melted to do other things.
Smelted.
Yes, melted,
Yeah.
melted.
Yeah.
Is it not the same melting? It will
No, I
turn
said
to
also
liquid.
smelted,
Aha,
yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You know,
And there are other parts of the ship that could be used to build new ones, or just the materials are used for all the things. It's a very big industry on its own.
yeah, I hear it's big business. And
Yeah.
since NIMASA is in charge of regulating safety in terms of the construction of the ship, the crewing of the vessel, and making sure that there's a safe navigation for these vessels,
Yeah.
we implore you to go into the business, because NIMASA is opening its arms and saying, hey, you can get involved in the business of ship scrapping, which is very big business.
And I think, was it last year or this year,
Yeah.
the tons that came out from ship scrapping, over 90,000 tons of metal.
Wow.
And one of the biggest points where you can get this done is in India.
Okay.
Yeah, India. Africa is growing. Nigeria is growing too. The Western world will think that the policies put in place to make sure that there is safety is one of the most dangerous jobs. That is a consideration given to it.
Yes.
They feel that those policies are not really grounded. But I think NIMASA is working on making sure that it's a safe environment to work, especially at that point where you're pulling the ship in to start breaking it down. If anything happens there, a lot of disasters can follow.
Yeah, so just go to the NIMASA website, is displayed right here
Yeah.
for you. Just go there and find out how you can get into ship scrapping. Very big business, I tell you.
I'm tempted.
Okay, so
And you know what ship scrapping reminds me of again?
tell me.
You men, when they feel the lady is now old, they scrap her and look for young blood and marry young girl. That is human scrapping.
Have you been scrapped before?
May
Anyway,
the Lord forbid.
all right, now on that note, we're going to take a break. And when we return, we'll find out what is going on in the Nigerian maritime sector.
If you're just joining us, you're watching NIMASA this week, and on this program, we'll bring you abreast with happenings in the maritime industry via the, should I say lenses? Yes, the lenses of NIMASA.
I can't believe you're committing plagiarism on the same program.
What?
Right in front of the author.
Who said it? You. I forgot your father started English language. Go away.
She's right. We're going to talk about the stakeholders. The stakeholders meeting happened in Calabar, Canaan City, my dear Calabar. And it converged stakeholders in the maritime industry, like I said, and also NIMASA. They came together to exchange ideas and to find a way of forging the industry forward. In her quest to constantly engage stakeholders in the maritime sector, the management of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, organized a one-day meeting for all stakeholders in the Eastern Zone. They all converged in the Canaan city of Calabar to deliberate on how best to harness the potential of the maritime sector. The theme of the event was Harnessing Maritime Potential in an Untapped Environment, Opportunities, Threats, and the Role of Government. Chairman NIMASA Governing Board General Jonathan India Garba and the DG NIMASA Dr. Dakuku Peterside led other board members and top management staff of the agency to the event. And it also had in attendance major maritime players from the zone, from Barrister Mrs. Mfon Usora to Captain Adamu Biu, Engineer Greg Ogbefun, labor leaders, and all other stakeholders who were interested in making the southeastern zone a hub for maritime activities in Nigeria. NIMASA board chairman set the ball rolling with his keynote address.
This interactive session is strategically designed to increase and consolidate on this harmonious working relationship between all the stakeholders, both the regulators and the regulated, with the ultimate goal of ensuring that the eastern ports play their vital roles in the harnessing of numerous maritime potentials that abound in the Niger Delta region.
On his part, the DG NIMASA, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, noted that the agency is committed to growing indigenous capacity in the sector.
As an agency, we've taken a number of steps acknowledging the fact that we have a responsibility to the Nigerian people to do all we can to grow the industry under the NIMASA Act and under the Cabotage Act. We have rededicated ourselves to the implementation of the ISPS Code, International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. Nigerian ports have now achieved 80% compliance. As of today, out of the 195 port facilities, 114 have been certified compliant with the ISPS code, making Nigeria one of the topmost ISPS compliant nations in the continent of Africa.
The lead paper presenter, Barrister Mfon Usoro, led the way in proffering solutions on how best to harness the potential in the Calabar axis of the Nigerian maritime industry.
Establish more maritime institutions. We are a large country, so there's room to have more maritime institutions, and you could have specialized institutions for the different fields of maritime manpower that I've just mentioned. Provide training ships for those in the Ship Owners Association of Nigeria, even though they are not very large ships, but we are encouraged that they employ Nigerians on board their vessels. Enter into bilateral relationship with maritime nations for mutual benefits in maritime manpower development. This is very important.
At the end of the day, a 21-point communique was issued, and NIMASA says it is committed to changing the narrative for the industry. Okay, so that was the interactive forum that took place in Calabar, Cross River State. And it was very, very enlightening, Cordelia. They came up with a 21-point communique. Now, the most interesting of the points, let me give you one of them, that government should address issues responsible for inability of Nigerian ports to compete with their regional neighbors to combat the trend of significant revenue losses in our port.
Oh, wow. I think that will be very, very on point, because it's not fair that as big as Nigeria is, we're not competing as well as we should with other countries.
Neighboring ports, yes.
Yeah, neighboring ports are taking more of the business. That is not good at all for a country that has such aquatic, should I say, splendor all around, not just Lagos now, all around.
Yeah, because of because of the population density. Yeah, I mean, it would be very it would be out of place for us to depend on one port. We hope that that stakeholders forum has ignited the desire, the further desire for our maritime industry to make sure that it is it affects every part of Nigeria. It should traverse the whole of Nigeria, and that is by making use of other ports so that commercial activities will be evenly distributed.
So when we have people graduating from the Nigerian Maritime University, they won't be coming into a setting where congestion is a problem, movement is a problem, competition is weak, and so on. They'll be coming into a sphere where things are moving smoothly.
Cordelia is intuitive because the report for the Nigerian Maritime University comes up next.
The Governing Council of the Nigerian Maritime University, Okerenkoko, Delta State, led by the Chairman and Pro-Chancellor of the institution, His Excellency Chief Timi Priye Silva, paid a courtesy visit to the management of NIMASA. Members of his entourage included the Vice-Chancellor, Registrar, and other members of the school management. After a meeting which lasted for about an hour, the NIMASA DG briefed the press on the outcome of the meeting.
NIMASA gave a commitment that we will explore the possibility of completing the NIMASA Science and Technical College Okoloba in the next 3 months and see if it is possible to hand over him to the Nigerian Maritime University. We committed to getting back to them in the next 1 week with a final decision in that direction. That will also not obviate the fact that we're going to continue work on the permanent side of the Maritime University for projects which we initiated and we are funding. NIMASA committed that in making a final decision, which will be an economic decision on the location of the floating dockyard, we will factor the interest of the university and the students being trained in the university. But that ultimately, the decision on the location of floating dockyard will be influenced by a lot of factors, including economic considerations and the issue of geography. The third issue that was discussed is the issue of funding of the university. The university drew our attention to the fact that NIMASA initiated the setting up of the Nigerian Maritime University to address identified capacity gaps in the sector in our country. That is admitted, and that NIMASA had supported the university in the recent past and will continue to support the university. Now, the university further proposed that we set up a joint committee to go and look at the NIMASA Science and Technical College Okoloba with a view to prioritizing the project both in the Nigerian Maritime University permanent site and the NIMASA Science and Technical College Okoloba. That is agreeable to us. We also agreed to that, and we agreed that we're going to set up a joint committee to go to visit the permanent site and prioritize the project, as well as visit Okoloba and see how we can accelerate the completion of the project.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are NIMASA. New face, rejuvenated service. NIMASA, changing the tides in your favor.
Welcome back to NIMASA This Week. Now it's time for us to give you a report on cabotage. The Cabotage Act of 2003 ensures that vessels operated on Nigerian waters would be owned by Nigerians and of course will carry the Nigerian flags. It's a wonderful state of utopia that we want to accomplish, but what steps are being taken so that this will be achieved? Well, we have a report. Then after that, we'll unravel an interview between Cordelia and the Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Dakuku Peterside. Have a look.
In pursuance of the success of Nigeria on maritime reforms, Nigeria made a bold attempt to change the face of maritime business within its coasts when it enacted the Coastal and Inland Shipping Cabotage Act in 2003. Though designed to restrict foreign participation in Nigeria's domestic coastal trade, nevertheless, a lot of opportunities exist for foreign involvement. The objective of the Cabotage Act is primarily to reserve the commercial transportation of goods and services within Nigerian coastal and inland waters to vessels flying the Nigerian flag and owned by persons of Nigerian citizenship. NIMASA intends to encourage indigenous shipping lines to participate in coastal and inland trade. The agency maintains a registry of vessels for cabotage trade, registering ships owned by indigenous shipping lines to participate in the nation's cabotage trade. Cabotage is based on 4 pillars. Vessels operating in Nigerian waters should be built in Nigeria, wholly owned by Nigerians, manned by Nigerians, and fly the Nigerian flag. Since Nigerians may not have the capacity to substantially take over the Nigerian maritime trade, the Cabotage Act has made provision for what is termed the ministerial waiver. The issue of the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund is one that Nigerian maritime stakeholders are also interested in. How best can we ensure that the cabotage regime in Nigeria becomes fully beneficial to Nigerians and the country benefits from the inherent values for economic growth?
One of my favorite segments on this program, because we get to find out more about what NIMASA is up to, not from any other source, but directly from the DG himself, Dr. Dakuku Peterside. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Today I won't tell you I like anything, because the last time you dashed me that thing, let's think I'm begging you.
Surprisingly, today, I've been looking at this your pendant, and I know I will have it.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Exchange, trade by barter. Okay, now, it's almost 15 years that they started the cabotage regime in Nigeria since it came in. So far, how's the implementation been like?
Well, the cabotage law, as you are aware, was passed in 2003 when many economies of the world started migrating towards protectionism, trying to protect their local economy. The US had done its Jones Act. China did her own version of the Cabotage Act. And several other jurisdictions did their various versions of the Cabotage Act, and Nigeria followed suit. Before then, a lot of stakeholders had been agitating for the passage of the Cabotage Act. It was eventually passed by the National Assembly in 2003, and NIMASA was mandated to enforce the provisions of that piece of legislation. Yeah, and if you ask me, I think that we've made a lot of progress since after the passage of the Cabotage Act. Before the passage of the Cabotage Act, foreigners dominated our industry, our shipping industry, both the local industry and the international part of the industry. And the Cabotage Act sought to restrict the participation of foreigners in coastal shipping. And we've made a lot of progress in different dimensions, particularly in the area of manning. Before the passage of the Cabotage Act, we used to have less than 12% Nigerians man various vessels. Today, we have progressed above 67%. Before the passage of the Cabotage Act, literally no vessel was built in the country. At some point, we started building vessels in the country. There's now a decline, quite all right, and we're concerned about that. Then in terms of flagging, very few vessels were flagged Nigeria before the passage of the Cabotage Act. Today, several vessels are flagged Nigeria. In any case, most vessels that do business within our territorial waters are flagged Nigeria. And the other one is the area of ownership. We're not where we ought to be, but again, we've made a lot of progress. Most vessels are owned by Nigerians or Nigerian interests or Nigerian firms. So if you ask me in summary, I would say we've made a lot of progress since after the passage of the Cabotage and the implementation mandate given to NIMASA.
So put simply, we have less foreigners manning ships for us?
Definitely,
now? Yeah.
definitely. We would have loved to have all Nigerians man vessels operating within our country. And cabotage is not all about manning alone. We're concerned about the investment side. The fact that Nigerians should own vessels, these vessels should be flagged Nigeria, and these vessels should be built in Nigeria. One area where we've not made much progress, where there seems to be a gap, is in the area of building vessels in Nigeria. Why do you think
this is so? Is it that
there are many reasons for it. There are three important reasons. One is the fact that our aluminium and steel industry is very much underdeveloped. That's one. The second one is the cost of funds. In many other jurisdictions, it will cost you not more than 1 or 2% to get funds to invest in building a ship. A ship is the capital outlay for a ship is huge, and the period to begin to make money is also fairly long. The gestation period is fairly long. So when you go borrow money from the Nigerian bank, from a Nigerian bank at 25%, when are you going to make your money? They don't even borrow you money on a long-term basis. Then the third one is the underdevelopment of the skill set required to build vessels. These are three critical factors why we are not flourishing in the area of building vessels. But I can tell you that we're focusing on it, and in the next few years, we begin to see a lot of development. The latest initiative is the fact that we have a collaboration with the Nigerian Content Management Development Board, wherein we are already going to carry out audits of shipbuilding yards and shipbuilding facilities in country, and look at how we can help inject funds and inject skill to make them vibrant again.
So that means when somebody has the interest, they can come talk to you and you can guide them on what to do. And
yes, once we set up the framework, which we're working with the Nigerian Content Development Management Board, once we set out the framework, then, of course, we'll throw our doors open to support local investors who want to invest in shipbuilding and shipbuilding yard.
Okay, so this particular question I want to ask you. I was asked to ask you this one by ship owners in Nigeria. And the question is... And
I can guess what it will ever be. Once you say ship owners, I can guess. Virtually all ship owners are interested in the CVFF.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's got about money. It's about money.
Now, in case you do not know what the CVFF is the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. And they're wondering why funds are not being dispersed. Is it in your purview to do? Why is money not coming out?
There are two strands to this. First, who has the power to authorize the disbursement of the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund? That power resides with the Office of the Honorable Minister of Transportation and not with NIMASA. NIMASA is a collection agent on behalf of the government and people of Nigeria. We collect 2% surcharge for all those who are doing contracts within our coastal waters and participating in the cabotage regime. So we collect that revenue, and of course the minister has the mandate to roll out a guideline that will govern the process. NIMASA initiates the process. When the guideline is rolled out, NIMASA leads the process up to the point of approval of the Honorable Minister of Transportation before we can disburse funds accruing under the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, the CVFF. Now, the second dimension is that the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund is a specific purpose fund. It's not a fund for everything. So the CVFF cannot solve all the problems we have in the maritime sector. If you want to acquire a new vessel, CVFF. If you want to build shipyards, CVFF, everything. It deals with supporting our local investors' growth tonnage in the industry so Nigerians can maximize benefit from the cabotage trade. And so we have been doing collection. There's been issues over the past years. I've been in the saddle for less than 2 years, and in these few years, we have worked closely with the Ministry of Transportation. We're looking at the possibility of reviewing the guideline, and after the review of the guideline, we will ensure that people have access to the CVFF fund. But let's put the framework in place. Let's put processes in place. The money is not to be thrown away. It is to be invested in specific areas to help grow tonnage in our country.
So thank you very much, DG. For coming on the program today, and from what we just discovered today, it's like you have prophetic.
Definitely, I have prophetic anointing. The reason is simple. I'm not really a child of God. I'm a favored child of God. So he reveals to me some of my enemies, and today I just found out that you're one.
Hi. God knows that is not true. All right, I hope you enjoyed this segment. And the program continues. This is the NIMASA this week. God knows. You know I'm not your enemy, Abby.
It's going to be a thrill for Nigerians to be able to have their maritime businesses, own Nigerian vessels, and run it on Nigerian waters. It's a spectacular thing, and I'm happy that that's happening in Nigeria in this day and age. There is this name that I want you to pronounce, the Nigerian Maritime University. You know, that report we saw.
Well, I
there
think
was one name in
Okeren
Delta
Koko.
State. Huh?
Is I think an Ijo town, so Okeren Koko. They have their own way of calling it. This would just be maybe the funky way, Okeren Koko.
Okeren Koko. Wow, names are there.
Yes,
now,
and you'll find a lot in your area too.
Yes, that's why I don't. People shouldn't take it personally if I don't know how to pronounce theirs, because I don't take it personally when they don't pronounce mine. Like this, what is ship in your language? What's
Ship. Just because you discovered the pronunciation of yours today, you want to put me outside in public to roast them?
I don't care when I found it.
Oko.
Oko?
Yes, Oko.
Oko is weapon in your language now.
No.
What are you talking about?
Oko. Okoyibo.
We've come to the end of the program. NIMASA this week. Next time, we're going to come and we're going to give you more insights regarding what the agency is doing to burgeon the Nigerian maritime industry.
We'll see you again next week. Till then, I'd always say this: let's take care of the environment, because if we destroy it, there'll be nothing for our children. So let's save it for our children and our children's children. My name is Cordelia Obe. Thanks for being there.
My name is Frank Idotu. We'll see you next time. Bon voyage. See you. Godspeed.